well. So just be aware that deadline would be July 6th, and you can learn more on the newsletter and on their website. Excuse me, and on their website. But the goal is to build farm to school capacity at the community level, and that could look. You could be looking at purchase and distribution of local foods through your programs, and if you need equipment and that type of thing. They are prioritizing. They did have more applications than they had funds for the last round. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware that they are prioritizing organizations that are serving directly or led by Black people and Indigenous people. So keep that in mind if you consider applying, and if you need more information, I'm more than happy to see how I can help. Additionally, they do have within those newsletters and on their website, they're building these living documents that are continually updated with best practices across the country. This one's specific to early care and education and is about 6 pages. And some of the different topics that they're hitting on here would be funding resources and information, CACFP, health and safety guidelines for early child care. So be aware this resource also exists. And they have a fact sheet that if it applies to you and your community, that would help connect early care facilities and partners and stakeholder groups to farm to school opportunities. This could be something that you could distribute or share out. And keep in mind, some of these resources you'll see on the bottom right corner, there's some live links there to really help you keep doing research to find what would be a good fit for you. So this is also out there. Make it relevant to your own community and start connecting some of the dots. Relevant to our school meal programs for school lunch. This is also a resource, another living document that is a couple of pages for continually updated resources. They do have some of the USDA waivers listed here and some other things like food safety, funding, media, and articles. And you'll see on their website, this is just a quick snip that I took so you could see what it would look like, some other things that you might pull from the website, like models and examples for sending seeds home with students and some platforms for your growers in your communities. So this is the website here, www.farmtoschool.org/COVID-19. And then last, and then I'll leave you on your way, but I wanted to point out that the National Farm to School Network is collecting stories from across the country, and I learn a lot when I jump into their blog posts and that type of thing. And so if you do have something that you want to share that would increase capacity in other places across the country of what you've done that's worked for you and how you've engaged your community, this could be a great opportunity to do that. So thank you for letting me pipe in on this quick minute and share with you a great opportunity to connect with the National Farm to School Network. And I will pass it off. I think we're moving into Donna's territory.
Hello, everyone. It is so wonderful to see so many familiar faces. I've been going through, scrolling through and seeing a lot of you, and it's a weird way to do it, but it's great to see you. So I want to talk to you a bit about the new website, Launch Nebraska. And Launch Nebraska is something you may have heard of because we've been talking about it for a while. But basically, Launch Nebraska is a website that provides resources to support the very complex planning and preparation that are needed by all of Nebraska school systems as you guys work to restart schools. And, you know, supporting the students, the staff, everyone, the families in the area. It's just really important that everybody get a lot of support. So this transition is requiring a lot of thought. And so that's what this website is all about. So you can see my screen here. I'm just showing you. I have a kind of a funky little part here because we learned earlier that I have to back in and out, stop share and share again. So I kind of know what I'm doing, but not really. So bear with me. But as far as Launch Nebraska, what we're going to show you today are the nutrition services conditions for learning. And this is an extensive list. It's actually 8 pages in length. Beth Haas and I worked on this with the help of a lot of you. There are a lot of you out there in the audience today who helped us with this, and for that I thank you, because we couldn't have done this without you. But these supporting considerations are to assist in the preparation and implementation of strategies to ensure safety. It's all about keeping people safe while getting back to school, however that's going to look in the fall. And we still don't know how that's going to look, and it could look different for every school for sure. But it's really important that food service directors, managers, and food service staff, as you can see in this last bullet here, you guys are an essential part of this discussion. You are very important to the discussion of how are we going to do this safely? How are we going to serve the food? How are we going to take care of our kids? How are we going to prepare the food and you know, provide food? So this is really an important thing for you to be involved in. And that's why we're taking this time today for you guys to share with each other some of your concerns. So I'm going to stop share, and then I am going to change my screen and share it. Let's see. There we go. You can see the website, right, Sean? You're my barometer here. Thank you. Okay, so once you go to the Launch Nebraska website, you can click on any of these headings at the top, but the way that we get to this screen in particular is you click on Conditions for Learning, and you'll see that there are lists here of supporting considerations for facilities. That means the building and movement through the building, for example, those that support health, mental health, and supporting considerations. And then there's nutrition services and physical activity and athletics. So I want to show you how to get to the nutrition services document. You just click on this link here. It's going to download for most of you, I would think, on your computer screen in the bottom left corner. And then we're going to pull this up. However, you can't see it on your screen until I stop share. I was told I had to get faster at this, so I'm trying to do this really fast. Here you go. And then you see the actual supporting considerations for nutrition services Launch Nebraska document. So these considerations are phrased as questions. They are questions that you may ask, and they aren't questions that necessarily anyone can answer right now, because we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know, are you going to be going back to school full time and everything is fine and you don't have, you know, what about social distancing? Will only half of the kids be allowed in the building at a time? Will you be providing a lot of sack lunches like you are now during summer? So these are questions that are divided into categories. And let me change this a little bit. So I always like to make it so it's just one page at a time. But there's a part on communications. And then as we scroll down, we see that there's a part on supporting teachers and staff. And then we have the implementation. And there's a long list of considerations for food service staff. And believe me, your safety is just as important as anyone else's, for sure. Considerations for meal service, and this is a really long one because there are all kinds of questions to ask about meal service and what's safe and what's not safe and what is it you should be doing. What if you're serving meals in the classroom now? Maybe you're going to do that for certain grades, not others. What if you have some more take-home meals to think about? Your tray disposal and meal disposal, how do you do that at the end? And then even things about receiving your deliveries and after school snacks, concession stands, and community consideration for community partners and summer feeding and so on. So again, you can see a really long document with a lot of resources at the end. And this information is similar to what you folks will be talking about today as you go into your groups and you start to voice your concerns and your thoughts on what's going to happen, because this is huge for you guys and we understand that. So we want to know that, we want you to know that we are here for you, but we don't necessarily have the answers either. You know, we'll give you more information as we receive it. So please ask questions. And then I think now I'm going to quit sharing my screen, if I can get my mouse over on my right screen here. And I will hand it over to Beth, who's going to talk about what's going to happen to you next.
Okay. It's good to see everyone. Get my screen here. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Donna or Sharon?
Oh, you can now. You're good to go.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to be getting into, am I in the right one? Yeah. Okay, we're going to be getting into breakout discussion groups, 15 to 20 participants. The NDE staff won't be in there unless you are in the chat box and request us. You have 30 minutes to discuss topics, areas. We'll give you 3 suggestions here in a minute. You're going to identify someone to record the ideas and report back to us when we get in the large group again in 30 minutes. You're going to share your recorded ideas to Donna Handley at nebraska.gov, and we will compile and post them to the Nutrition Services webpage. You don't have to worry about going into a group or figuring it out. Zoom will automatically send you to your breakout rooms, and it'll bring you back at the 30 minutes. So the discussion topics suggestions that we've come up with are, how do you see food service changing? The student safety, food safety, staff safety, applying good food safety procedures. The second one is, how will you procurement and purchasing change? You know, considering purchasing of food packaging, if you haven't purchased it before, may not be as readily available. Individually wrapped items might not be as readily available if you haven't purchased in the past. And the third one is, how will students and staff be trained on the new ways that meal service will take place? So in a moment, you guys will be sent into your breakout rooms. And we would like you to turn on your videos if you don't have them on, because it's so nice to see everybody's face who you're speaking with. And it's just kind of a refresher to see people. And you'll have to unmute yourself so that you'll be able to talk. So in a moment, we'll be going to the breakout.
Yeah, almost ready. Thank you, Beth. Hang tight, everybody.
As we're waiting, just make sure that you get someone that will record what you're talking about, and then we'll talk for a little bit when we get back into the large group.
Now would be a great time for you to enter any questions you have in the chat. There is a question that says, will the training be a video or PowerPoint? And I know that's referring to our training that we will be posting on our website for new food service managers and for a refresher for current staff. I believe it will be a PowerPoint presentation with audio is the plan, and it will be in different sections. Looking through the questions to see if there's anything else we can talk about right now. If you did not include your email address, please do so that we know who to send those certificates to. I see, Robin, you have 5 people watching with you today. Thank you for bringing the group together. Just send us your email so that we can make sure that we get it to you. Great job, everybody, entering your name and email address. I'm sorry, some people's cameras aren't working. We don't mean to be picking on you to turn your camera on. We completely understand if it's not working. It's just nice to be able to see everyone. Looks good. We've got a few more that just came through. So everyone should be in their room. Let us know in the chat box if you are not in a room.
We are going to start sharing with group 1, or room 1, whichever it was said on your when you went to your breakout room. So if whoever your recorder was, if they would like to report right now, that would be great.
Just in case, that's Amy, Bambi, Barb, Belinda, Karen, Chelsea, Christina, Cindy, and Mary.
All right, I was the recorder, and I think we had more questions than answers.
And that's
But one of the things that we were talking about, okay, the food service changing was, can teachers squirt the dressing or the ketchup on trays? Can the plastic shields be used for face coverings instead of a mask? Because we do a lot of lip reading. So that was one of our questions. Hopefully to get answers too. Another thing we were talking about, like procurement and purchase. I don't think we had a lot of purchase change, but procurement, buying portions or buying pre-cupped paper products. We discussed, feeding in the cafeteria to feeding in the classroom, using toss away trays in the classroom, similar to what we do during kind of like summer feeding. And then on the last question that you asked us to answer was, what was that one? How will students and staff be trained? Some of our schools, we had a range from 60 students up to 425 students were being fed, and we had volunteers. Could they still work in the kitchen if they're above that age group that were susceptible to this COVID? Are they going to be able to still be here? Will paras be available? So a lot of staffing issues. So a lot of questions. So I'm hoping we'll get answers, and we kind of added more questions like, how will our menus change? If should it go to A and B days, splitting up classes? Are we sending meals home? Will vendors be able to keep up with all of our schools ordering at once again, like kind of how we had when we closed down? Are we going to run out of those single serve items? So that's what we went through. That helps.
A lot of good information there, Karen.
Really good.
Yeah.
And just some great communication points to go back to your school with, and to talk to them about those things, and talk to your vendors. Okay, so now we're going to go with group 2.
Yeah, I put in the chat box there. That's the group with Deb Baum, Devin Hansen, Dodie Dunbar, Erna, Ginny, and Mary.
Yeah, this is Kathy. I'm not Dodie, but I'm with Dodie here. We had talked about, like I said, serving in the classroom, gyms. I mean, some of us I know don't have a lot of room in their rooms to spread everybody out. So that was kind of one of our concerns. And I know, of course.
Oops.
Probably trees.
There, can you hear me? Okay. This is Kathy. I'm with Dodie here. We had talked about serving in the classroom instead of in the lunchroom. A lot of us don't have a lot of room in our lunchroom to space people out 6 feet. So we talked about having a lot more aides helping us serve. The offer versus serve versus just regular serving was one of the big concerns too. I mean, everything has to kind of be on the tray, so they can't go through the like salad bars and stuff like that. One of the big things with the procurement was, are we going to be, I mean, with the orderings that have went on, are we going to be shorted with some of our stuff with like the price of beef going up like it is? I know we're going to have to probably talk to vendors and see what's going to be available. How, I mean, are we going to have to change menus to match if we don't get the supplies that we need in? As far, like I said, trainings, like I said, we'll have to do like the aides and the people that will have to help volunteer. I mean, if we're going to serve in the classrooms, the teachers are all going to have to know what's going on and how to do things too. So that was, I think, a lot of our main concerns. So.
Great job. Group 3.
You can see I typed that wrong in the chat box, everybody. I'm so sorry. I got 3 and 4 mixed up. So 3 is Angela, Donna, Holly, Jackie, Jan, and company.
Are they muted? We're not hearing anything.
Yeah, unmute yourself.
This is Donna, and we had a lot more questions, of course, than we did answers. We were talking about serving, having the students come through the line and getting their trays and taking them back to the classroom. Having carts that go to the classrooms with items on it, and the teachers help hand out like silverware and those items so that the students aren't touching all of the silverware. But our questions concern too so much of how much is going to change. What are we going to be able to do? Can we send a bottle of ketchup that the teachers, administer the ketchup on the plates, or do we have to send packets? Same with dressing, salad dressings. Just like I said, just so many more questions. And are we going to have to, how is that going to change with our ordering and how much supplies are going to be available before I'll order in the individual packets at the same time?
Good job.
Oh, yeah. We're in group five?
4. I think we're
Sorry,
still
4.
4. Group
That's
4.
Beth, Donna, Jackie, Julie, Karen, Kathy, Kelly, and Kimberly with a couple others.
Don't forget to unmute yourself.
We had a lot of questions. I guess there was 2 of us talking, and the rest I don't think unmuted. So, but we're kind of both waiting on what administration is going to say. Are they eating in the classroom? Are they not? Or are they going to do some in the classroom, some in the cafeteria, that type of thing, and then training for staff. That have already been asked. So.
Great job. Okay, group 5. Katie?
That's Adele, Becky, Irene, Kristen, Christy, and Crystal, along with Lacey, Linda, and Teresa.
Don't forget to unmute.
Hi. We talked about almost everything everybody else has already stated, from serving lines to wrapping silverware to ordering individual portion cups. Everything really, everybody else is waiting for what our guidelines are, what we need to follow from you guys, plus from our administration. Nobody's really made any, recommendations yet. Not recommendations, but set what they want us to do.
One of the things about that we haven't done is because each school will probably be a little bit different depending on the level that COVID is active in your area. If you're a high risk, you may not be in school, but if you're a low risk, you may be back normal. We just don't know, and that is up to each individual school to make those decisions. And that's why we're just giving you the considerations so that you can make those decisions as a group with you all communicating with your administration, because you're going to be a large part of this decision and going back and how things are handled, because it is essential that you are keeping the kids safe and feeding them at the same time as keeping them safe. So it's going to look different in a lot of schools. It's not going to be one policy for every school in the state. It's going to be each individual school will make their own local decision. Okay, Katie, group 6.
Yes, great. That includes Jackie, Kathy, Lisa, Laura, Mara, Maribel, and Nelda, along with someone from Walt Hill.
So like everybody else's group, we just have a lot of questions, but one of the things that came up was concern about more food waste than we already have if we're giving kids individually packaged stuff, because we're a tiny school and I feel like we have more food waste than we probably should. But if we can't reuse the stuff that's prepackaged, that's another issue. Talked about staggering lunches to make it easier to feed kids in a lunchroom if we had the choice. So there are less kids in a lunchroom at a time, we can space them out. But all the same concerns everybody else has a novel right now.
Yeah.
Those are great ideas about staggering. Good job. Okay, group 8.
7, right?
Oh, sorry, 7. You're
Yeah,
right.
okay, just making sure. I got off too. That includes Holly, Jennifer, Julie, Cassie, Melinda, Myrna, Natalie, Neil, and Pearl.
We didn't really elect the folks
person,
Yeah.
so maybe a couple of us will. But we talked about a lot of different things, and I think we all know that we're all going to have questions, but we have to work with the teams that we have to come up with the best solutions. It matters a lot that you work with each principal in each building that you're involved with, and that you have open dialogue about what is and is not going to work. Training is going to be important, whether it's happening in your lunchroom or happening in a classroom. We have to find ways to make things more efficient and more smooth. I know at our school, I'm at Norris, and we have 4 buildings that, you know, we have 10 sections of kindergartners. The idea of them, and they're the furthest away from the lunchroom, the idea of them carrying trays clear down there is not realistic. But the second graders could, because they're closest to the lunchroom and they are more accustomed to handling things. So, you know, you're going to have to look at every building and every group a little bit differently and come up with ways that can work. But I think the biggest thing that we're all seeing and hearing is that you know, nothing's going to be the same, and we're going to have to evolve as we go. And even our summer programs have shown that how we started and how we ended those are not, probably nowhere near the same. I know mine are. And so just, you know, I talked to my food service staff a little bit that we have a Gumby approach. We need to be very flexible and willing to bend and twist and be flexible and willing to evolve this program, because ultimately those kids pay for all of our bills, and if we're not taking care of them, then we're probably not taking care of our bills either, and that matters to all of us on very extreme level for some and not so extreme for others. But our job is to help serve kids and be available to partner with the school districts. So that's about it.
Hey, good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anybody else from that group have anything to say?
Hello?
One thing that did come up in our discussion was those schools that have open campuses. That's another thing. Are they going to let kids go off campus for lunch? And is that going to be an individual school decision as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be another individual school decision as well. Katie, group 8?
Yeah, that includes Andrew, Leah, 2 Marys, Nikki, Philip, Randy, Rebecca, and Robin.
Well, and we talked a lot about the changes that nobody seems to know for sure what is coming, the ideas that we've heard, but so many of our superintendents and the higher ups haven't even given us a thought of what's going on. So a lot of us are still in the dark. But we did decide that, you know, it's probably be good to start ordering now for next year because you are going to see a lot of shortages. So if you start now, then by the time school starts, you might have a good supply of stuff. Some of us talked about our cafeterias. We have a lot of traffic going from the school to the gym, and you cross through the cafeteria every time the kids go in and out. So, you know, that's going to be a problem as far as to keep everything clean and sanitized. I don't know how that will work. One lady suggested buying from your grocery stores, purchasing locally. Sometimes your grocery stores, it's easier for them to get some of your styrofoam and saran wrap and things like that than it is for you to get it through your suppliers. If you have individual lunch tables, you're pretty lucky because it'll be a little easier to space them apart. But those of us that have connected tables, 6-foot tables, 8-foot tables, anything like that, one lady suggested maybe sitting the kids just on one side. And then that way you would have the other side, you know, to work into your 6-foot distancing. And we also talked about maybe using your gym, if the school would permit you to take the overflow of your lunch and into your gym if you have it connected to your lunchroom like we did. Other than that, we all had the same questions and we talked about pretty much the same thing everybody else did.
Great job.
Group 9 is next, and that includes Kim, Mary, Rael, Rebecca, Robert, Shelley, Summer, and 2 Susans.
Don't forget to unmute yourself.
We had pretty much the same questions. We talked about prepackaged salads, if we did our own prepackaging of the salads.
Great.
Other than that, it was mostly the same thing that everybody else had said.
Yeah, whether it was going to be more of a grab and go style with like lidded containers that kids took back to classrooms, but now we understand that guidance is going to come from the schools individually, more so maybe than from the state.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So that question was answered.
We'll give you recommendation guidelines, or not guidelines, but guidance, but we won't, not because everybody's going to be in a different situation, we're not going to require anything.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. It wouldn't be fair to the schools that have no activity to be in if somebody's very active. So, okay. Where are we at, Katie? 9?
We're group 10, I believe. Yeah. Sorry. That includes Nikki, Ruth, Susan, Tara, Teresa, Tiff, and Vicky.
Hi, my name is Teresa, and I was this person that took the notes. We pretty much went over everything as everybody else did. Some of them are planning on eating in the classroom. Some are going to spread them out through the cafeteria, definitely wearing masks. Talked about maybe kids going a couple days a week and the other kids going the other couple days a week, and possibly sending food home like we did for the summer program. Definitely wearing masks, and we see a lot of disposable trays and disposable silverware being used. And then on question 2, just plan ahead and order ahead. Lots of grab and goes, lots of disposable silverware and plates in the classroom. And as far as training, we'll have to just practice and walk them through the process because it will definitely be different. But we also see school maybe starting one way and be prepared for changes as we start the school year, because there will probably be changes be made as we start. And then as we discussed, we're all in different areas. So we see, you know, different health departments wanting things done differently. And that's all I had.
Very good. Yeah, you will see that because the different health departments are dealing with different things in their areas. So it is going to be different for each area. Okay, group 11, Dean.
Yep, in group 11, right, so we said, yeah, we have Alyssa, Amy, Brenda, Brenna, Danielle, and Rosie.
Okay, this is Elisa. I honestly, we just talked through everything, and please, my team, speak up anytime. We had everything from administrative staff there who, weren't 100% for sure what to go ahead and say on behalf of their nutrition and dietary team, because truly and honestly, just like everyone has said, everyone's kind of in their own little spot still, so, and not really knowing what to do with the guidance. We've had anything from Head Start staff members, grade school, high school, small schools, big schools. I work more in the corrections type facilities, so mine's a little bit more stagnant, I guess you would say, with what we have to offer. But, obviously the younger kids, it's much more of a challenge to keep them 6 feet apart, to get them to wear masks, to divide them out, so to speak. Some of the schools were, like people had mentioned, talking about opening up gymnasiums, putting tables in there to be able to utilize that as distancing. A lot of grab-and-go items talked about. The biggest challenge probably was more for staffing and what to do for them when it comes to providing them the space, providing them the equipment they need, making sure that they feel safe to come to work every day. Especially as we age, we know that that's a challenge for a lot of people, is their personal safety too, on top of the staff or the students. A lot of it came down to some of the schools were being really flexible and really awesome and helping out and being really proactive, and some of the schools just didn't seem like they wanted to bend with their lunch hours. Their lunch hours are lunch hours, and no ifs, ands, or buts. And dietary, well, guess what? Fix it. So, and do what you can do. So that's where a lot of the challenges really came down to, was how can you safely get the food there, temperature-wise, to keep it appetizing in that short time. And hopefully they'll be able to enjoy it. So anything else from my team? Did they say anything? Anybody else speak up? Feel free. But otherwise, that's pretty much all we had. So a lot of open-ended questions from that everybody else has.
Great questions and great comments. Group 12.
You bet. That's Elaine, Heather, Jacinta, Joanne, Johnny, Joni, Judy, Julie, and Justin. Now, who arranged these groups? It's me, and I guess I put you all in the same group based on the letter of your first name. I am sorry. Go ahead, though.
We talked about a lot of the things that everybody else did, but a concern about staffing, because if one kitchen member gets sick, you don't have subs, but then if we'd all have to stay quarantined for 2 weeks, that's 2 weeks with no school meals, or it's not like you can write a lesson plan and a sub can walk in and figure it out, like teaching. Offer versus serve, the cost of like meals, like now sending meals out and no choices. Water, kind of working on a solution for that. But otherwise we were much the same, I think, as has been discussed. Other than it was really great to see everybody, even if it was a Zoom chat.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Excellent.
All right.
All right. 13, yeah. In 13, we had Deb, Debbie, Karen, Cami, Kate, Kirk, Carrie, Linda times 2, and Lisa, who I think is from my alma mater, Hampton. Go Hawks. You're up.
Well, I'll start because I was in this group. I was taking a few notes. Kind of the same thing Judy said, like offer versus serve is a big deal, and hopefully we can get some kind of waiver for that and meeting the subgroups. One thing we talked about is having different plans in place in case something has to change right away. If you're doing traditional serving with distancing in the cafeteria and you have to change to go to a classroom, or like if a kid gets sick, are they going to shut down the classroom, or are they going to shut down the school, or how's that going to go? Those are things we have to wait. But basically having plans in place and be ready to go with whatever you need. We thought that Launch Nebraska will be a great place to get some information for us. So, and what else did we talk about? Oh, and just wondering about the local health departments, which has been brought up. So those are basically some things we talked about. Anybody else from the group wants to jump in?
That was good.
Okay. Looks like group 14.
Yeah. Last but not least, we have Jackie, Lori, Mary, Sharon, Shelley, and Valerie.
I was a part of that group as well, so I'll speak up for the group.
Oh, sorry, Justin.
No, you're good. Some of the things we've talked about as well is creating that tiered food safety plan response, because we may start August at 100% capacity or limited capacity, and then being able to bounce either from a green to a yellow to a red type scenario, and having plans around that. So in a green, maybe you've got 100% student capacity, but in the month of August, I think everyone's going to be overly cautious for good reasons. So really starting out with a limited menu, to some degree overdoing it with the safety on the personal hygiene, personal protective equipment. And then as you look at the different tiers going from a green to a yellow to a red, I think there's a lot of elements that kind of blend one to the other tiered plan. And it's what is it that you either have to layer in or layer out to be able to build the trust and comfort for not only the community and the kids eating at school, but your staff wanting to come to work and knowing that they're going to stay safe at work. So we talked a lot about that just with the safety aspect of it. Even to plans around, how can you have, maybe you have a cleaning team if you have the available staff going around touching those or cleaning those high touch surfaces. Can you create a touch-free point of sale environment? Plans like that. From the procurement aspect of it, we talked about really trying to get your menu as much in place now, and then taking that guess of what's your participation going to be like in August, September, so you can start to get your forecast out to your suppliers and getting, at least those main items in the volume and projected volume, so they can start to plan and be as ready as possible for the first day school starts. And again, developing some kind of tiered plan. So maybe you've got a 50% participation plan and 80% enrollment participation plan, things like that. One of the concerns that came up for procurement is because we shut down early, people have a stockpile of commodities on hand from last year. So how can you build your menu around any stockpile items that can be utilized in the fall, as well as planning for what you've already ordered to come in the fall? We did not get to staff training in our discussion. It says the first part of those two questions were pretty rich. So that's where we had it.
Great job. Okay, before we wrap up, I just want to remind you to remember to email your ideas to Donna Handley at nebraska.gov, and we will compile and post the notes and ideas from today with our today's recording. And before we get into questions, I just want to say thank you for all your great ideas and your questions. Also, communicate with your administrators, your vendors. Don't forget to keep it muted. Thanks. Communicate with your vendors. You may have a lead time for things that you haven't purchased in the past. And some things there might be shortages of, especially the individually wrapped items. But be creative and come up with your own individually wrapped items. Also, communicate with your teachers, your paras, your custodians, your health inspector. Keep in contact with them. And we understand that this is an uncertain time. Be flexible and let us know if we can be of any support or help for you. So we're continuing to work remotely. We don't know when we'll be going back. So thank you for continuing to reach out to us by email or phone with your questions. We love hearing from you guys. And if you have any questions now, please unmute yourself and we can go. Thank you for participating today. And don't forget, if you didn't put your name and your email address into the chat box, you won't get a certificate for today's seminar. Thanks. Bye, Elaine.
Thanks. So good to see everyone.
Bye.
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 Mary Hanson.